Hi, my name is Zach Newby, and this is my video demonstration for my data analysis project for Brigham Young University, Idaho online applied programming class, CSE 310. For my data analysis project, I analyzed the Palmer Penguins data set from Kaggle.com, this here, which contains information on penguins researched by Dr. Kristen Gorman in the Palmer Station in Antarctica. To analyze this, I used Python and Python as the programming language, and the pandas and matplotlib libraries, using especially the pyplot module of matplotlib. This is the final analysis file, analysis underscore presentation.py, which contains the code I made, which is it contains the primary analysis code and will create all the graphs and creates the final graphs I use to analyze and visualize the data. For more information, there is also a data analysis presentation PDF document I am working on, which will guide you through the data set step by step. Now, to start off, I'm going to run the file. Here we get a printout of the Palmer Penguins data set. It has 6 columns: species, island, bill length, bill depth, flipper length, body mass, and sex. Each row is a different penguin. Like we have an Adelie penguin from Torgerson Island. It had a 39.1 millimeter long bill that was 18.7 millimeters deep. Its flipper length was 181 millimeters. It had a body mass of 3,750 grams, and it was a male penguin. The first graph here is one of the total island populations and the total species populations. These are all the islands and species represented in the data set: Torgerson Island, Dream Island, Biscoe Island, Adelie Island, Chinstrap. Then the species are Adelie, Chinstrap, and Gentoo penguins. If we close out of that, we move into the first question for the assignment. On which of the 3 islands, Dream, Biscoe, and Torgerson, were Adelie penguins with long flippers greater than the average length of the species most common? For our purposes, a long flipper is above average median length for the species. And if we pull this up, Torgerson Island had 26 Adelie penguins with long flippers, whereas Dream and Biscoe had 22 and 19 respectively, meaning Torgerson had the most penguins with long flippers. If we close out of that, we get this graph, which shows all the penguins for each of the islands graphing their flipper lengths on a scatter plot. As you can see, Torgerson had the most dots, which represent penguins, to the right of the median flipper length, which was 190 millimeters, which is what this red line represents. The dots on the line are penguins with that length of flipper. If we moving on to question 2, is there a relationship or correlation between the bill length and depth of the penguins? If so, what kind of relationship is it, i.e. a direct correlation or an indirect one, or even in an inverse? If not, do any factors correlate to either? To answer this, I created 8 scatter plots, and we'll move through them in order. The first scatter plot compares bill length and depth for all the penguins in the study. While the bill lengths and depths do not really appear to have much of a relationship, you can see 3 general clumps or distributions of penguins, which appear to represent the 3 species of penguin. Closing out of that, and to help better understand this, let's try isolating each species to view it in greater detail, which are these commands here. Figure 2 has the Adelie penguin bill lengths and depths. Adelie bills are usually between 16.5 and 19.5 millimeters deep and between 35 and 42 millimeters long. They don't have much of a direct relationship, but they do kind of seem to be the longer they are, the deeper they are. Moving on, the Gen 2s, we can see there is a much clearer relationship. They, if one can see a clear trend line, the longer the bill, the deeper it is. With most bills are between 42 and 51 millimeters long and 13.5 and 16.5 millimeters deep with a positive trend line or relationship. Interestingly, there almost appear to be two trend lines, one here and one here, with bill lengths coming out to a bit longer than depths on this lower one. If we graph the male and female Gen 2 separately, we can see both genders have their own trend lines. With the males being a bit higher or deeper than the females. As for the chin strap penguins, there weren't a lot of them, but they do have their own trend line, with most bills being between 45 and 52 millimeters long and 17 and 20 millimeters deep. There only appears to be a single trend line for the chin strap penguins, with no separate ones between the sexes. So, in conclusion, the bill length and depth are positively correlated in Gen 2 and chin strap penguins, with Gen 2s having two separate trend lines for each gender, while meanwhile no direct correlation can be found for the Adelies. Each species has its own general range or distribution of bill depth and length. As for the last bit of our original question, if not, do any factors correlate to either? That's where these two functions come in. Here we have bill length compared to flipper length for all penguins. Once again, we see a clumping behavior, but there seems to be a much clearer relationship or trend line between the two. And then lastly, if we compare bill depth to flipper length, we see two main clumps or distributions of penguins. The penguins with that sort of positive correlation or relationship continuing on. On flipper length appears to have a direct positive correlation between bill length and depth. While age was not recorded within the dataset, it likely has a correlation to bill length and depth as penguin bills grow with age. Thank you for watching this. This concludes my presentation on my data analysis project.